things to hold here. All right. I'm Trish Perry, and I am a results coach. So what is a result coach? I help executives and professionals who've been thrown off track by hardship to find their inner power, their direction, and their balance to feel successful and joyful again. And the thing is that I was that leader 10 years ago. So I had climbed the corporate ladder at Target, 20 years, 7 promotions. It was going hard until the year 2008, 2009 came along. In 2009, I was laid off. So I went to another company, to a company that I actually hated. I won't mention the name, but I was a good, as my son called me, corporate badass. So I just kept on until I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So there was a 9-month period where I was diagnosed with breast cancer, had a double mastectomy, and then that 9 months ended with my sister dying of cancer. So you can imagine I quit my job and I took 2 years off, and coming back to the corporate world was my plan until I had to do something to prove myself. So I got my coaching certification, but thinking, I'll just bring it back to corporate. It'll be one more thing that I can do. And it was actually my calling. So I reinvented myself. I became a coach, and that's what I do today. And part of, okay, maybe not.
You're using the laser pointer.
Oh, you got it. So one of the things, sorry about that, one of the things that I like to talk about is the art of failing well. So who's heard that term, failing well? It's usually not used, fail and well, in the same sentence. And if it's an art, then I'm Picasso. So let's just be clear on how many times I've failed. So would you do an activity with me? I want you to close your eyes, and I'm going to say a word twice. I want you to think about what is the image that comes to your mind, but more than that, where do you feel it in your body, and what's the first word that comes to your mind? Ready? Failure. Failure. All right. So where I feel that is around my heart. My chest tightens, that's where I feel it. And I'll be really honest, the first word that comes to my mind is the F word, and it's not fail. And so I was raised by a full colonel who told us that failure is not an option. So failure wasn't an option to me. So fail is synonymous with weakness, it's synonymous with being vulnerable, it's synonymous with failure. So that's still to this day, that's how I feel when I hear the word failure. I'd like to hear from some of you. Where did you feel it? In your gut? In your solar plex? Yeah. Where else?
My jaw.
Your jaw?
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of times we will tighten our jaws when there's something happening. A lot of people feel it in their shoulders. A lot of people will feel it in their gut. Some people, it shoots from their gut up to their head and they end up with a headache. So it's been really interesting. I've done this with hundreds of people and I've gotten really interesting feedback. So let's look at the definition of failure. An omission of an occurrence, failing to perform, lack of success, a deficiency. Who wants to be this? Not I. However, I failed once or twice or 2,000 times in my corporate career. And we're not going there yet. And I'm going to tell you a little story. Some of you have heard this. So imagine it's 3 a.m. in the morning at City Center, downtown. Working for Target, we're getting ready to relaunch Target on the Amazon platform. And the reason that we relaunched it on Amazon was because Amazon has the best search engine, or at the time, they still do have a great one. They have the best search engine for retail, and they have these reviews, product reviews. So those were the two main reasons we went there. So 3 in the morning, I got this email. Trish, great news. We're launching on time. As a side note, we won't be launching with search, but there's a glitch and we'll get it out when we can. So just know that there is a ton of media presence on this. So can you imagine, how many of you here use search when you're on a retail site? Okay, 90% of all consumers consider it an essential tool on a website. Can you imagine Target.com launching without a website or without search on the website? So I got really mad. I took the email, I forwarded it to my VP, her name's Lisa. I ranted, I used a few choice words. I pressed send, and my heart stopped and raced at the same time because I hit reply all. So now it's in the ether, right? And Amazon's gonna get this in about 5 seconds. And I literally froze. So you go to fight, flight, or freeze, I froze. When I tell you within 30 seconds, here's the story I made up, and my husband is here, so you'll know who I'm talking about. I thought, okay, 15 minutes, you got 15 minutes. You're gonna get fired, you're gonna go home, you're gonna tell your husband, he's gonna divorce you, he's gonna take the kids, and you're gonna end up unemployed, homeless, living in a van down by the river. In 30 seconds, that's where my brain went. So, I'll tell you what happened in a few. Tell me what bubble wrap, Viagra, and Dyson have in common.
None of them were designed, or none of them are actually for their actual purpose.
They were all failures. So bubble wrap was actually a textured wallpaper.
Oh.
So back in the 50s, textured wallpaper was all the rage. They made tons and tons of this. 2 engineers set 2 plastic shower curtains through a hot press, and out came bubble wrap. They thought it was going to be great. It failed so poorly. They didn't know what they were going to do with all of the stock they had. So they tried to make it into insulation. Nobody was buying that. They patented it. And in 1960, they got an appointment with IBM, and IBM had just launched a new computer, and they didn't know how they were going to ship it. So they brought in the bubble wrap, they wrapped it up, dropped it, nothing broke. That was the first time bubble wrap was introduced to the market, and it became huge. I mean, do you ever get a package without bubble wrap? So it was huge. Viagra. Anybody know what Viagra was originally for?
Heart surgery, wasn't there a couple of that?
For heart pressure, blood pressure. So it didn't take blood pressure down. It actually took it up in some people. And Viagra is one of the best selling drugs that's out there today. And then the Dyson vacuum. James Dyson made over 5,000 prototypes before he came up with the Dyson vacuum. Once he did, no one in the US, no one in Asia, no one in Europe would manufacture it. So he had to create his own manufacturing. It went out to the market. It was one of the best things that had ever sold. So that's the Dyson story. So what does that tell you?
There's hope.
Sorry, what?
There's hope.
There's hope.
There's hope.
There's hope. I mean, can you imagine if he had stopped at 5,200? We wouldn't have had Dyson. Can you imagine if they had just quit their jobs when they did bubble wrap, and we wouldn't have that? And then I won't even go into Viagra. But some people are very happy that it was made. So the thing is, we were born a trial and error species. Born that way. Anybody ever seen a baby walk? What happens?
We follow that.
They follow up. They pull up, They stand there, they get their balance, and all the adults are clapping. It's so great. And then they take a walk. Then they take a step, and they fall. But when they fall, they learn, okay, that didn't work. So they keep trying until they learn. Can you teach a baby to walk? You can't teach a baby to walk. A baby has to go through the failing process to be able to walk. So if we were born that way, why is it that failure is such a fatal event? Well, did anybody ever go to school? Did you ever have to do the dot-to-dot lines so that you knew exactly how to write because that was the right way to write? And if you were not in the lines, then it was the wrong way. Did you ever play sports? Some people got on the team, some people didn't make it. When you get into school, there's a right and a wrong, there's a good, there's a bad, there's a black, there's a white. So we are actually in the position that failure is failure. But Einstein said that failure is success in progress, and I completely agree with him. What I'm going to tell you, though, is great. People say that failure is success in progress, and that it's the art of failure, and you can do it. Does anyone ever give you a tool on what to do if you do fail? I never got a tool. I missed that. So here's your tool. I'm going to ask you to fail after you fail. And this is exactly what I did when, remember, I'm homeless, living in a van down by the river.
You might.
So there I am, frozen, and I thought, okay, you got to do something. So the first thing I did was focus on the facts, not my narrative that had me homeless. The fact was, I sent the email. I needed to get it to my VP and warn her she was going to get a phone call. So I focused on the facts. I went, made a copy, ran into her office. Guess who's sitting there? The senior VP, Kathy. So now I have to tell my story to both of them. I handed them the piece of paper and I said, I'm so sorry, I made this mistake. I meant to send it to Lisa. It went to Amazon. You're going to get a call. No question. Which is the second. I acknowledged my responsibility. So we went to that second step. And then I said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, which is I will be here with you when you call them and tell them. You can tell them that you're firing me. I understand, but I want to let them know that I'm sorry. And so Kathy, the senior VP, started laughing. And she said, Trish, really? Not great that you did that, but it is kind of funny. Has anyone ever told Amazon off? I don't think so. But you sure did. Like, oh, great. So with that, I said, well, I'll tell you what I am going to do. I'm going to bring it back to my team. I'm going to tell them what I've done. We're going to brainstorm what we could have done if they were in that situation. So Kathy said, no, I'll do you one better. I want you to talk to all of Target.com. And I want you to tell all of them what you did. So 2 weeks later, I'm in front of 200 plus people telling them about my failure. Now, mind you, I didn't like being vulnerable. I didn't like admitting my failures, but it was such a great learning experience. And people came up to me afterwards and said, thank you so much. Leaders do not admit their failures. They only talk about their success. So thank you for being real and telling us about this, because now we understand. So that is the listen and lead from your mistakes. So here's the definition, omission, lack of, deficiency. What I want to do right now with you is I want to redefine failure. So I'll go first. A natural part of the human learning experience. What else? What else would you add to that?
That was mine.
Don't you hate when people take your answers?
I know.
What else would you say?
I'd say it's a fallacy. If you learn out of it, there is no such thing.
I love that.
There's
John,
no such thing as failure, there's only outcome.
there's no such thing as failure, there's only outcome.
Failure is an opportunity to learn.
Failure is an opportunity to learn. I saw somebody else with their hand up.
If you get it right the first time, was there a better way to do it that you found through failure?
Absolutely. So all these things,
This can be a great motivator too.
it absolutely can be a great motivator. Anybody ever heard of Steve Jobs when he got fired from Apple, the company that he started? The only reason he was able to do 1,000 songs in your pocket, which was the iPod, was because he started Pixar and Next. That's where he got the idea for it. So redefining failure is really important. Failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of it. Thank you so much, I appreciate it.